Coming to you live from downtown Windsor, this is a St. Clair College MediaPlex production.
Greetings, I'm Georgia LeBlanc and welcome back to the MediaPlex Insider. Yesterday marked the 95th anniversary of when the Windsor-Detroit Tunnel opened to the public. Let's see how the CEO is celebrating this milestone. November 3rd, 2025 marks the 95th anniversary of the Windsor-Detroit Border Tunnel. Chief Executive Officer Tal Chudner said Windsor and Detroit share more than just a border.
A lot of history of automotive and manufacturing in our two communities, and that was a great way to connect the two sides. And realistically, that hasn't changed. There's just been more things that have added to the connections, right? Lots of healthcare people in Windsor take the tunnel every day to go to work, IT, engineers. There might be some rabid sports fans in Windsor-Essex that go across to see some of the four major sports.
Despite recent tension between Canada and the U.S., Chudner said the tunnel is still popular.
You know, politics aside, there's still, 11 or 12,000 people a day that use the tunnel.
Chudner also said the tunnel shuts down twice a year, once for safety maintenance and the other for an event of unity between the two cities.
Well, we only shut down twice a year. We shut down for the emergency exercises that we do in the spring, and you've got all the first responders and everybody, and we do some cool exercises just to try and, prepare for the worst. But then we also closed for the marathon. So the Detroit Free Press International Marathon, I think they just had their 48th year. Really, that's a nice symbol of the relationship that we have. Often voted the #1 marathon in the United States, and so people start in Detroit, pop over the Ambassador Bridge, run through the city of Windsor. The city really wanted to liven up the experience in Canada, so lots of cheer stations and activation stations. Then they do a big 180 and head back to Detroit through the town.
Chudner said there are reasons as to why the tunnel is often Windsorites' preferred method of crossing the border.
If you have an express card, which is kind of our frequent flyer card, $5.90. Ambassador Bridge is $12. So the tunnel is cheaper. Generally, it's faster, we're friendlier, and we're actually owned by the city of Windsor. So we pay an annual dividend to the city, so it actually helps lower your tax rate.
As for their 95th anniversary, Chudner said the tunnel is celebrating with its consumers.
Lots of media stuff. Mayor did a nice little video, and during the day today, we're randomly giving free toll, giving tunnel swag away, proclamations on the U.S. side. Our American friends love to do proclamations and write nice big fancy letters. Just honestly to show some appreciation to our users, our regular commuters, just to kind of give them a little freebie, give them a little bit of swag, and say thanks for taking the time.
Georgia LeBlanc, MediaPlex News. The curtain has dropped on another successful WIF season. Ken Pastuchin was there.
The 21st Annual Windsor International Film Festival is now over. Here are some of the special screenings that have stood the test of time. WIF screened the 65th anniversary restoration of the Billy Wilder comedy The Apartment, which is part of the Cannes Film Festival Classic Series. The film starring Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, and Fred MacMurray won the Oscar for Best Picture in 1961. If I could have seen only one movie this year at WIF, it would have been the 50th anniversary screening of Jaws, which was directed by Steven Spielberg. It's the original summer blockbuster, which stars Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss, and of course Bruce the Mechanical Shark. There was a 45th anniversary screening of The Shining on Halloween night. It was directed by Stanley Kubrick and stars Jack Nicholson. In 1981, it was nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award, but was later reappraised as a masterpiece of modern horror. WIF also shows a Christmas movie in early November, and this year it was the 35th anniversary screening of the John Hughes comedy Home Alone. Macaulay Culkin is so adorable as 8-year-old Kevin, and Joe Pesci, along with Daniel Stern, are so hilarious as the Wet Bandits. I encourage you to stream all of these classic films. For the MediaPlex News, I'm Ken Pastuchin, and I'll see you at WIF Under the Stars in 2026.
Ever wondered what the life of a radio show host looked like in the 1980s? While Doug Lee's story wasn't typical, it was a story of friendship and connection. Let's take a look at his profile made by yours truly.
Memory Lane is a long, winding, and sometimes bumpy road. Despite this, the whole point of walking down is to enjoy the scenery along the way. Doug Lee Myers is the reason why Matthew Moore takes this stroll more than often. His memories of his lifelong best friend are sweet, sour, and every unique taste in between.
I met Doug when I was 19 years old in 1964. When I met Doug, he was hanging out with my friend Linda and Sharon. Like, he seems like a real fun guy, and nice to talk to, and everything like that. You know, and he was always laughing. That laugh he used to do. We became friends shortly after that, close friends. He had a talent for radio. He always wanted to get to be a DJ in radio. He would go down his basement on Lausanne Road. He had a record player, and he had a tape recorder. We always played DJ down there, and we had a lot of fun. He worked at CKWW for a little while. I think that was his first job, but he didn't stay there long. From CKLW, he went to CFCO in Chatham. He stayed there, I think, about a year. Then he left to go to Stratford. Stratford was his first radio job out of town. So he stayed at Stratford for a couple of years. And he started going to Wingham, and he was on the TV there even. And then he was on the radio there for maybe a couple of years. From then on, that's when he went to Kitchener. And he stayed in Kitchener for like close to 20 years. And he was on the radio. He was very popular. Girls used to call him up at night. He was very, very popular. I used to go visit him. I'd take the train after work. I'd take the train in Windsor down and go visit him, his apartment. And he had a lot of friends in the radio business. And he was doing great. He was doing really good. Now, this is a picture of Doug when he first started out in radio. When he was young, he used to have these imaginary characters in the studio. He'd put on all these imaginary characters, and it even says that at the caption of the bottom of the picture here. He just grew with that radio station. He just stayed there for, it has to be like 20 years. He was always on the night shift, though. Linda's sister as kids, and we used to babysit them all the time. Doug and I would go and we'd watch TV with them, Rick and Sharon, and Doug and I. We became like the unholy four, the foursome, you know. We used to do everything together. After about 10 years, I think he was getting burned out in radio. Like he didn't find the thrill in it like he did before. I'd go to visit him. He was a little moody. He'd start getting pensive, just quiet, you know. I knew something was bothering him. I know we'd been friends for so many years, and I knew something was bothering him. He just carried on, you know. And I remember my friend from Michigan, we went to see him one time. We got to his apartment door and he kind of threw us out. My friend Tom said, "Oh, Matt, let's give him another shot." It was a really pleasant visit. He said he was sorry. That's the way Doug was. He would get in these moods and he'd start insulting people. Then I knew he didn't mean it. And unfortunately, that's the catalyst for him leaving radio. One night he goes in and he had some tea. And he mustn't have been in the best of moods. He spilled it on the console accidentally, and he used some profanity that was certainly not allowed in those days that went on the air. And this is why they called him into the office, and they said, "We can't have this," and they let him go. Then he moved back to Windsor and worked for ComCare. He kept coming over. We were still close friends, and one day he got mad at me and just walked out. He says, "You'll never see me again." We had many of these kind of arguments, but we'd always make up. Like, he'd walk out and I'd forgive him, you know. That one time he just walked out and I never saw him anymore. And it kind of hurt me because he was my friend, and it kind of hurt me, you know. And the next thing we heard is his obituary. I still miss him, and I have fond memories of him, and we got to keep his memory alive. And that's the way I feel.
True friendships involve the good, the bad, and the ugly. While it may not have ended ideally, it is undeniable those good times, laughs, and smiles were in fact very real. Happy moments with friends like this are to be cherished forever.
Well, I say I outdid myself on that one. Let's head over to the Zach Attack for a look at the weather.
You sure did, Georgia. Now let's take a look at some current conditions across the region. Right now, Windsor sitting at 16 degrees, Amherstburg 15, 16 in Essex, and down in Kingsville 14. Heading out to Leamington, it's 12 degrees, so buckle up. Let's take a look at that 3-day forecast. Wednesday, a chance of sun and cloud and a high of 16. Thursday, sun returns and a high of 10. And of course, chance of more sun and clouds and a high of 12. But as we take a look beyond that into the next weekend, temperatures bottom out into the single digits with showers and also a chance for flurries. Back to you.
Better get your hats and gloves ready. Right on, Zach. Now it's time for your weekly dose of pop culture. Join Natalie and the girls and boys in an unexpected crossover.
Hi, I'm Natalie Reinhardt.
And I'm Toasted Sad, and this has been Spilling the Tea.
Our top story today is the one thing everybody's talking about, the Blue Jays losing the World Series. And as someone who has only liked sports for about 2 weeks now, I can just say it's so sad.
So sad.
So very sad.
So very sad.
So sad. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know much about sports, do you?
Not one bit.
Anyways, so I think it's best that we get some of our guys who are on the MediaPlex sports team to explain some stuff to us, right? All right, well guys, can you come in? All right, Tate and Marshall, can you tell us about the game? Well, I mean, there has to be something that you liked.
Any characters?
There was Will Smith in the top of the 11th. He hit a home run.
Will Smith?
Oh, the Will Smith who slapped Chris Rock?
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
Well, anyways, I think that's all we can talk about today. I'm Natalie Reinhardt.
And I'm Chelsea Sad.
And the tea has been spilt. Bye-bye.
Wow, what a tragic loss. Let's hear more from these heartbroken boys on today's episode of 2 Minute Warning.
You're watching 2 Minute Warning. We are your hosts, Alex Da Silva.
And I'm Marshall Kewen.
And this is your sports news breakdown for the day.
A moment of silence for the Toronto Blue Jays. As this weekend, they took on the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 7 of the World Series. This is one of the most entertaining baseball games to ever be played. Only one team could win, and that team was the Los Angeles Dodgers, as they won back-to-back World Series championships. The first time anyone has gone back-to-back in 25 years. The boys in Dodger Blue had one word to say at yesterday's parade: three-peat.
Man, Marshall, how the Blue Jays were ever so close. Today in the NFL, it was the trade deadline. After losing last night, the Dallas Cowboys made a big splash, trading for Logan Wilson from the Cincinnati Bengals. Another big trade happened earlier. Sauce Gardner has been traded from the New York Jets to the Indianapolis Colts for 2 first-round picks. Some big performances on Sunday. Sam Darnold threw 4 touchdowns and 330 yards as the Seahawks defeated the Washington Commanders 38-14. The Seattle Seahawks are now 6-2. Former Michigan star J.J. McCarthy returned home and stunned Detroit, leading the Vikings to a 27-24 win. He silenced Ford Field in his first game back in Michigan. A full circle moment for the former Wolverine. The Chicago Bears versus the Cincinnati Bengals was a wild one, capped by a dramatic 58-yard touchdown by Caleb Williams to tight end Colson Loveland with just 17 seconds left. Despite a monster game from Bengals veteran quarterback Joe Flacco, who threw 470 yards and 4 touchdowns. And some records were also broken this weekend as Jacksonville Cam Little kicked a 68-yard field goal at the end of the first half. The Jaguars defeated the Las Vegas Raiders 30-29 in overtime.
That is a crazy
68
ending.
yards.
That is crazy. In the NHL, the Toronto Maple Leafs made an electrifying comeback last night against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ben Kindle scored 2 goals in the first 2 frames as the Penguins led 3-0. But William Nylander kicked the Leafs into high gear when he scored 2 of the 4 unanswered goals in the third period. Toronto went on to win 4-3.
Well, I guess it isn't all depressing in Toronto.
No, but it's also very depressing in Nashville, as the Vancouver Canucks were in Nashville last night to take on the Predators. It was a thrilling game going back and forth, and the game was so back and forth that it needed overtime. During the final seconds, Elias Pettersson dishes Brock Besser a beautiful one-handed pass as Besser shells it to win the game 5-4.
Big performance from the Canucks. And in local sports, the Windsor Spitfires defeated the Flint Firebirds on Sunday 5-2. Defender Carson Woodall leads the team in points with 25. The Spitfires take on the Kingston Frontenacs this Thursday at the WFCU Center. 7:05, puck drop.
We have a lot to look forward to, but unfortunately, this is it for us. I'm Marshall Kewen.
And I'm Alex Da Silva.
And you have been watching 2 Minute Warning.
Our very own wannabe mechanic Joe is back with more tips and tricks on how to maintain your car on this episode of Cars Aren't That Scary.
Hello everyone, I'm Joseph Berdard with the MediaPlex, and this is Cars Aren't That Scary, a segment of the show where I teach you some tips and tricks on how to do some basic vehicle maintenance, even if you've never touched a car before. Today, we're doing something that everyone should at least know how to do once, and that's your oil change. Let's get started. Alright, so this is pretty much everything you're going to need to do your oil change. You have the correct oil, which the correct oil can actually be found on the top of your oil cap. That'll tell you what type you need. You have the correct filter, which can either be found in your owner's manual or honestly just online. It's pretty easy to find. You have your funnel, which isn't technically required but is very useful, and I will show you why. You have an oil drain pan to put the old oil into, shop towels in case you make a mess, and your toolbox. This looks like a lot of tools, but really all you need is one ratchet and a socket. Now the first step in doing your oil change is lifting up the car, and normally you could just use a jack and some jack stands, lift up the car, you're all good to go. However, an easier method that you could be using are ramps, and that's what I'm going to be using today. Now when using ramps, the best practice is to make sure that your ramp is lined up with your tire before you actually start driving on top of them. Once you're all lined up, think you're all good to go, you can hop in the car and start driving on top. It's best to have someone with you for this next section just to make sure you don't drive too far and fall off the ramp. However, it's not mandatory. There are ways to get around it. Okay, so what you're gonna need is a drain pan, which you can shove right under there. You're gonna need your funnel, just because it makes things easier. And you're gonna need your ratchet, which I actually forgot over here. So give me a sec.
So at this point, I took my microphone off just to make sure no oil splashed onto it, so it's gonna be a voiceover for the next little bit. Here, all I'm doing is breaking the oil drain plug free with a ratchet, putting the funnel underneath where the oil is going to come out, making sure the funnel is actually pointed into the drain pan, and then undoing the plug by hand to make sure that I don't drop it into the funnel. After that, all you have to do is wait for the oil to finish draining. This can take a while depending on which car and engine you have. This clip is actually at 4 times speed, but luckily, the funnel's not really that heavy, even with the oil draining into it, so it's not too bad. Once all the oil is out of the engine, just put the funnel aside and you can move over to your oil filter. Next is your oil filter. Depending on where it's located on your car, this might get a bit messy, so just be aware, and if any oil does get on your skin, Dawn dish soap is incredible at cleaning it off.
This is why I took off the microphone.
The best way to take off your filter is to turn it counterclockwise with your hand until oil starts coming out of where it's mounted. Just wait for it to drain for a bit, grab 1 or 2 of your shop towels, and use that to take the filter the rest of the way off. There is a chance that your filter needs more than just your hand to take it off. If that's the case, you might need an oil filter wrench, which can be found at any Canadian Tire or auto parts store. When installing, clean off any of the leftover oil from where this filter was mounted. Put a little bit of the excess oil onto your finger and give the rubber seal of the filter a good coating. Once that's complete, just screw the filter onto where the old filter was mounted. Now put the drain plug back into the oil pan. When tightening both the bolt and the filter, be sure not to over-tighten them. The filter is just tightened by hand, and for the bolt I usually make sure it's just snug. Both of them I'll also give an extra eighth of a turn, just to be safe. And now, grab your funnel, wipe it out if you used it previously, and grab the oil jug, because the last step is filling your car. When you open the oil jug, be sure none of the foil-like seal falls into it. If this gets into your engine, it could cause damage. Once the seal is removed, put your funnel into the oil fill hole and pour the oil in there. It's best to look up your car's oil capacity online and only put that amount into your car. Every car is different, so it may need more or less than one of these large jugs. As you start to reach your capacity, be sure to check your dipstick to make sure you aren't overfilling. Overfilling can cause damage, so it's best to avoid it. The oil may be hard to see because it's new, so a trick I use is putting the dipstick onto a shop towel and using the wet spot it leaves to show the level. The wet spot will be a lot easier than seeing the dipstick with new oil, so this is just a good trick to keep in your back pocket. Once your oil level is good, clean up your tools, put your filler cap back on, and close the hood, because you just completed your oil change.
Well, with that all out of the way, you're pretty much good to go. You just have to make sure everything is all cleaned up, you're lowered off of the ramps, which I am, your drain pan has been put away, which mine is as well, and everything's been disposed of properly. All you really have to do now is take it for a test drive and check the oil afterwards. Make sure that it's at the correct level that it needs to be. We'll be back tomorrow to make sure that the oil level is where it's supposed to be, since not only is it raining, I don't really have anywhere else to go today. Alright, so it's been a couple days since we last did the oil change, and all we got to do now is lift up the hood, which it is already popped, and then just check the oil level, make sure it's all good to go, no leaks or anything, and close it up and you're all done your oil change. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so you're going to check your oil the same as I've shown you a couple times before. You got to make sure that you pull it out. You're going to wipe it off on its way out, just to get all that excess oil on there off from when you just drove the car. Once that's all done, you're good to put it back in. Make sure it goes all the way to the bottom, and then you pull it back out and check your fluid. As you can see here, my oil is within reason. It is within those crosshatches that we were looking at previously. So all you have to do is you can put your oil dipstick back in, close your hood, because you're all set. And with that all out of the way, you're pretty much done your oil change. As long as your oil is within those crosshatches on that dipstick, you're good to go. So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Joseph Bedard with the MediaPlex. I hope that I've shown you that cars just aren't that scary. And I'll see you guys in the next one.
Of a new grocery store being built at the Roundhouse Center. Get ready to shop with no frills attached.
Shoppers in South Windsor will now have a new place to shop for their groceries. No Frills has opened its doors in the Roundhouse Center, occupying the former Shoppers Drug Mart and Spirit Halloween stores. The store has been receiving positive reviews, especially from customer Kim Klein.
Wonderful. Was waiting for this to open. I'm a big fan of No Frills. I've traveled to the one in Amherstburg, the location in George and Wyandotte, now that I reside in South Windsor. And I am thrilled, and the prices were fair. There were some great sales to be had, and the staff was absolutely outstanding.
This is just one of many No Frills going up in the city. One is slated to open on Tecumseh Road near Princess, and the other one on Huron Church in the West End. The store will be open 7 days a week. You can check nofrills.ca for more info. For the MediaPlex, I'm Zachary Ballog.
More important to children than you may think. It's time to hit those high notes with one of our alumni, Riley Shea.
Hi, I'm Riley Shea. Singing is as fundamental as life. The world around us is constantly giving us music, whether through birdsong, ocean waves, or the rumble of thunder. Some of the first sounds we make as infants are in response to the music around us. The inflection that parents use with their children, often called parentese or infant-directed speech, mimics musical intervals that are found across cultures all over the world. Even when not enrolled in a singing class or program, school-aged children naturally sing during play, making up their own songs and rhymes on the playground. So it's not surprising to learn that singing is integral, even a biological need, when it comes to childhood development. This starts as early as conception. We now know that children can recognize and remember melodies and rhythms heard in the womb. When the same melody is played after birth, the infant's heart rate slows down, showing the calming effect of a familiar melody. Some of the very first songs may have been lullabies. Parents naturally vocalize to calm their children, affirming that they are safe and are loved, and that the parent's full attention is on them. Singing to your child in infancy is proven to strengthen the bond between parent and child. Singing in childhood can also help with early language acquisition, including development of the muscles needed for speaking. Music and singing introduces rhythm, repetition, new vocabulary, and word meanings for children just learning how to speak. This is, of course, also a first introduction to music education. Newborns can detect the basic beats in a piece of music, and some studies have even shown that babies can detect differences in pitch better than most adults. Children who are regularly exposed to music have been known to have better language skills and a wider vocabulary. In addition, singing can help develop social and emotional skills. Studies have shown that singing as a group creates a sense of belonging with one another. In a study of a primary school singing group, a positive correlation was identified between singing ability and social integration. Children who learned how to sing and who sung in school often had better socialization with their peers. Singing and music can be used as a tool for emotional expression and regulation. Repetition of familiar rhymes and songs can be calming for children. Singing with others releases endorphins, which help to boost your mood, literally lifting you up when you feel down. Singing and music is an art form, giving children of any age a means of creative expression. So parents and adults who work with children, it is so important to sing with children of all ages, regardless of your musical ability. Experts advise, fake it till you make it. I can say from personal experience that even if you are not a trained singer, the more that you sing, the better you become and the more confident you are. Don't let your self-consciousness prevent you from giving your child the greatest gift, which is music. Thank you.
Are you the type to eat Halloween candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? While Halloween is in the rearview mirror, Windsor Eats offered an alternative to these sugary packaged treats.
Over the weekend, Windsor Eats Food Hall hosted their Halloween Town pop-up, and it was such a vibe. The place was filled with spooky decor, pumpkins, cobwebs, and just the right mix of creepy and cozy. They had live tattoos happening right on site, music playing, and even the Blue Jays game on in the background, which made for a fun mix of Halloween energy and game day excitement. What really stood out though was the local art on the walls. Everywhere you looked, there were creative pieces from local artists that gave the space such a unique community feel. It wasn't just an event, it felt like a celebration of Windsor talent.
I'll cut it down.
Between the food, drinks, and amazing atmosphere, the Halloween Town pop-up was the perfect way to spend the weekend and kick off the spooky season in style. From the MediaPlex Insider, I'm JC Zimmer.
Well, that's all for today's show. I'm Georgia LeBlanc. Have a great evening.